Hello everyone and welcome to 5 Homes to Freedom. Today we're going to start with Module 1, Lesson 1, What to Buy. So in this module we're going to be taking a look at your singles, your duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, etc. to decide what type of property is best suitable for you. We'll then take a look at what type or style of property that you should be looking at. And we'll also take a look at some cash flow basic analysis so you understand the numbers. And finally, we'll figure out what price point you should actually be looking at to purchase. So what to buy? Well, we've got single family homes, and some of the pros about the single family homes is that there's a high availability for single family homes, meaning that there's lots of the product available out there to select from. Location is also less restricted, meaning that your R1 zoning, which is for residential single-family homes, there's a lot more of that available out there than, say, R2 or R3, which is more for the commercial zoning. You're only dealing with one tenant when you're looking at a single-family home as well. And because you're looking at one tenant, it's much easier to download all of the expenses to that single tenant. The cons of a single-family home ownership is that the value is going to be subject to market conditions. This can go for you or against you, and what this means is that it's not based upon the income that the property generates. It's based upon the market value. As the market values go up or down, so does the value of your single-family home. When you have one tenant, you only have one source of rental income. Therefore, if that tenant leaves and you've got a vacant unit, you're now 100% vacant, therefore no cash flow. And when you're looking at a single family home as an investment opportunity, there's very little, if any, cash flow in that property. So it's very difficult to make a single family home cash flow. We then take a look at a duplex. Here we have a side-by-side, but it could be an up, down, front, back, any different type of configuration. Some of the pros of a duplex is that you now have two rental sources. Therefore, you are reducing the risk when you have an empty unit. You still have some cash flow coming in. Quite often, they are purpose-built, and as a result of purpose-built, it can also lead to a downside in that you can't sell it as a single-family home. And if it's zoned properly, then that's good for you as well. However, on the con side, it's very difficult or more difficult to find a good quality duplex at a good price compared to a single family house. Unfortunately, there's a lot of the duplexes that are out there, there's a lot of them that are non-purpose built. And what I mean by that is that it wasn't built originally as a duplex. It was likely built as a large single family home, and someone at some point in time took it upon themselves to split it into two separate apartments. And more likely than not, this was done years ago prior to the building codes, current building codes being in place. Therefore, you have to ask yourself, first of all, is it legal? Can it continue as a legal duplex, or is the zoning, do you have to go get permission from the municipality? Then secondly, and probably more importantly, in my opinion, is it safe as a duplex? You do need to be aware of safety concerns, fire issues when you're renting out. Big con is that it can only be sold as a duplex as well. So it's not going to be appealing to the market of single-family homeowners. We then have a triplex. Here's a picture of an older triplex where you've got one unit stacked on top of the other. Again, it can have many different configurations. It could be front, back, it could be side by side, it could be 3 units tied together. The nice thing about this is that you now have 3 rents. So again, you're greatly reducing your risks. However, the cons to it is that it's even more difficult than duplexes to find a good quality triplex that's available on the market. There's a lot of people looking for these types of properties, therefore supply and demand, you get more people looking for them, the prices go up. Like the duplexes, there's a lot of many non-purpose built, so you have to ask, is it legal and is it safe? Same thing with the duplex, it can only be sold as a triplex. And you're definitely getting into more restricted locations with respect to the zoning. So You cannot have a triplex built in an R1 zoning municipality without having special permission. We then have our fourplexes. Here's a couple examples of fourplexes. You got 2 units up, 2 units down. Again, configurations can vary all over the map. Pros and cons, I'm not going to repeat them here, but it's very similar to your triplexes. A lot of similar challenges. Finding good quality properties that are out there. There's even fewer fourplexes than duplexes and triplexes, but there are some out there. Then we look at the 5 units and above, and what that means is the biggest distinction here is that it now becomes commercial, commercial in the eyes of the lenders. Some of the pros with owning a big property like this is that you may only need one building in your portfolio in order for you to achieve your goal once that debt has been paid off. So that's nice. You've got all of your tenants in one location, and you only have one roof to take care of, one furnace, etc. So there are definitely some pros to this. However, the cons are significant. It's very expensive to finance these types of properties. Because you're now dealing with commercial lenders, they have a lot of hidden fees that you do not have to pay when you're borrowing money in the residential market. So that can be very expensive for you. You're having to deal with commercial lenders who they follow a totally different set of rules and criteria. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Difficult to finance, meaning that you can't do residential mortgages on these types of properties. They have to be commercial mortgages. The challenge is, especially when it's a 5-plex to maybe an 8-plex, depending on the price point. So that's going to depend on the market that you're looking at buying them in. But in my particular market, a decent 5 or 6-plex would probably sell in the $400,000 to $600,000 price point. Well, because it's greater than 4 units, you can't get a residential mortgage. Just no ifs, ands, or buts. So you have to go to a commercial lender, but the commercial lenders are going to look at the price point, and they don't like lending much under $800,000 because the cost of borrowing the money to lend to you is so high, it's just not worth their while. So it can be very difficult to find good financing for these types of properties. And then with commercial mortgages, the financial terms or the finance terms are not nearly as favorable as they are for residential mortgages. You can't pay down lump sums of money to reduce the principal. You can't increase the size of your monthly payments. If you want to sell the property and pay the mortgage out early, you can do that. However, the penalty is that you have to pay the balance, all of the money, the interest owing for the balance of that term on that commercial mortgage, which can be very expensive to you. And that's why you'll see in the commercial world a lot of ads saying that you have to take on that mortgage so it doesn't get paid out. So then we take a look at the cash flow analysis of a property. So here we have a single family home with only one tenant, and I'm using the average price of $350,000. That price can vary from market to market, but across the country that seems to be a good average price. And the rent that reflects that price is going to be for a single family house $1,800. It could be a little bit higher, a little bit lower. Depends on the market, depends on the condition of the house. The expenses related to that particular property is your property tax, your property insurance, and your debt service. That's your mortgage payment. So you take all of those expenses away from your income, that leaves you with a profit or cash flow of just $50 a month. And as I mentioned earlier, that's not a lot of money, and it's likely going to be more negative than positive in most cases. The only time you're going to get into really good positive cash flow is if the debt service is considerably lower or zero. So when we take a look at a single family house, but it's suited, meaning you now have 2 tenants, and you've got the upstairs rented for $1,400 and the downstairs rented for $1,100. It's the same house, but it's been suited now, so 2 apartments. You've now increased your income up to $2,400. Your expenses remain the same. It's the same property tax, same insurance, same debt service, but your cash flow now has been increased to $650. This is the target number that we're looking for in the 5 Homes to Freedom program. So let's take a look and see what Ken's recommendation is. Well, my recommendation for this program is to look at single-family homes with a suite. Therefore, you're looking at 2 tenants per building, which is easily manageable. It also has a resale value as a single-family house or a suited house, which is huge. And it's still relatively easy to download the expenses because you only have 2 tenants in there. So you can split the expenses if you only have a single meter for electricity, for example. As long as the tenants agree, you could do a 60-40 split between the utilities or the gas, and arrange to have them do the different activities around the house, like the snow and the grass. Excuse me. So you also have the opportunity to appreciate with market conditions. So unlike a triplex, fourplex as an example, a multi-unit will go up in value according to the market conditions, but their values are tied more directly related to the income that they generate. With a single-family house, as a suited single-family house, you get the benefits of both worlds. You can sell it as a rental property, therefore based upon the income that it generates, or you can ride the market appreciation and you can sell it as a single-family home in the future. There's also many more homes available on the market to choose from. And this is extremely important because there are very few good quality multi-unit properties out there, but you've got a lot of investors chasing them, which is pushing the prices up. Whereas with single-family homes, the price is going to be dictated based upon the number of homes available, the quality of the home, and the number of people chasing them, which is far fewer. You also have the benefit of a residential mortgage with flexible terms, which is extremely important for this type of program because one of our focuses is to pay down the debt as quickly as possible. All right, so now we know we're looking for a single-family home that we can suite. What style of property are we actually looking for? Are we looking for the 2 stories, the side splits, back splits, a bungalow, high ranch, or a raised bungalow? Well, let's take a look at each one of these and determine the pros and cons of each. So we'll start off with a 2-story. Some of the pros of a 2-story is that you do get a lot of living space. You can get a lot of living space on a very small footprint. So smaller lots will typically have 2-story houses. The cons to this style of house for us in this program is that because we have a smaller footprint, we therefore have a smaller basement as well. And the basement is usually where we are looking to develop that suite in. So we want as much space as possible. Also, the basement stairs that access the basement are generally located underneath the stairs that go to the second floor, and that's usually in the main house, the central part of the house. So it's not ideally located for tenants to be going downstairs to access that unit with privacy. So this is not one of the styles we're going to be looking at. The next one is what we call a side split. So when you take a look at the house from the front, you've got the bedrooms off to the side of the main living area. In this particular case, you can see those 2 large windows right here. That's going to be your living space. That could be your living room, dining room with a kitchen behind it. And then you've got your bedrooms up above your lower basement. And what happens here is you're going to have a set of stairs, just a half flight that goes up to service the bedrooms up top or down to service the basement unit. There may also be another section of the basement underneath the living area that you would access another set of stairs from the lower level. So you could have 3 or 4 different levels here. So the pros of this is it does create a lot of living space, and it's much larger than outside appearance, what it appears from the outside. It does, because of the lot of living space, it does take up a large footprint as well, creating a lot of space on the lower levels. The cons, though, is the multi-levels. A huge disadvantage here. Your stairs are going to be located towards the center of the house as well. Your basements are cut up. You've got 2 different levels. They're much smaller space, and you have far too many stairs to make it appealing for a rental property. So this does not fit our criteria either. The next one we're going to look at is a back split, very similar to a side split, except that you've got your living space at the front of the house, your living room, kitchen area at the front of the house, and the bedrooms at the back. And here you can see where it's actually split into 4 different levels. So very similar to your side split. And again, the pros and cons for this, well, you've got a large floor area, deceptively large actually. The cons, though, is your interior staircase. You have your basements are smaller, they're cut up, multi-level, just not functional for what it is we want to achieve with the 5 homes of freedom. So again, we're not looking at the side split or the back split. Next style we'll take a look at is your bungalows. And again, just a picture of your standard bungalows out there. And some of the pros for a bungalow is that you now have a large footprint because you've got all of your bedrooms, your living room, dining room, all on one floor. Therefore, it needs to have a larger footprint in order to accommodate that. You have no stairs for that entire living area. The cons for this, though, is that in the older homes, so probably 1990 and earlier, the basements were built not for living space. They were built more for storage and for functionality for the services, your laundry, your heating system, etc., are all kept down there. A lot of small windows for ventilation. They weren't designed for egress for people to crawl through. You may or may not have a second entrance into the basement. Depends on the land and the slope of the land, etc. And the prices may be higher than your 2-story houses or your side splits and whatnot, simply because the single level, 1 floor, no stairs is very appealing to seniors, people with health issues, and given our current demographics with the aging population, there's quite a demand for bungalows, good quality bungalows, and there's a lower supply, therefore the price point is going to be a little bit higher for your bungalows. You can have, it's very common for a lot of bungalows, especially older bungalows, when you come in the back or side door, that you'll have a set of stairs going to the basement right there and a couple steps up onto the main floor. This is very appealing for our 5 home strategy because you can create the separate entrance that's required. So this is going to be what I would say is our second place, our second choice. There's definitely an opportunity to use bungalows as a building style for our 5 home strategy, but not every bungalow is going to suit. It's going to be on a case-by-case study. Our last one we're going to look at now is what we call a high ranch or a raised bungalow. It's called different things in different parts of the country. And it's effectively a bungalow, just as the raised bungalow says. It's a bungalow that's raised up out of the ground a little bit higher than normal. So you can see in these 3 pictures, all of the basement windows are decent size, and the basement extends up above grade considerably higher than the conventional bungalow does. So let's take a look at a typical floor plan here. So like a bungalow, you've got all your living space on 1 floor, except that we have 1 entrance coming in that services the upstairs and the downstairs. So you come in to a foyer and you walk up half a flight of stairs into your living room, or half a flight of stairs down into your basement living area. So you can quite easily put a door across the top of the stairs here, or at the bottom of the stairs here, and the top of the stairs over here. So you have 2 separate entrances for the units, but from the outside it still looks like a single family house. In the future, if you wanted to convert it back to a single family house, very easy to convert back to this configuration without much damage to the house. So that's one of the nice features about your raised bungalow. So here you've got that picture of the raised bungalow again. The pros for this is you've got a large footprint like a bungalow. You've got that separate entrance at the front that you can split. You have a very high basement ceiling, and you have the large windows that will meet code as far as egress goes, meaning that they're large enough for you to escape through a window in the event of a fire, or more importantly, large enough for a firefighter with their air packs on to be able to crawl through the window in order to save somebody in a burning house. So that's the important part here. The cons to it, there's really not a whole lot of cons to it, except that you need to be aware that a lot of these homes that were being built, especially in the 90s, were being built with wood foundations. Here in Eastern Ontario, there's still a lot of contractors building with wood foundations, and there's nothing wrong with a good wood foundation if it's done properly. A wood foundation can last 100 years or more. The downside is that if it wasn't installed, built properly in the first place, it can cause a lot of issues, moisture issues for you moving forward. So just be aware of that. So if you haven't guessed already, this is my first choice for the style of property that you should be looking for to work well with the 5 Homes to Freedom program. I'm going to share with you a real example. This is a friend / student of mine who's purchased this property just over a year ago now. This is what we call a high ranch, because again, you can see here they've got the large windows in the basement. Although you can't see it, it's one entrance and it's got the split. So you go down half a flight of stairs into the basement or up half a flight to the main floor. It also has an attached single car garage. So the details of this particular property, it was originally listed for $289,900 and the sale price was $284,000. It was only on the market for 15 days, which is why they weren't able to negotiate much better deal than that. It has the 3 bedrooms up with a large living room, a very large dining room, a full kitchen. And then downstairs it had 1 bedroom, a very large bedroom actually, a family room, laundry room roughed in, and with a roughed in bathroom, and as I mentioned, the attached single car garage. So their plan was to take the basement and pretty much gut the basement out, reconfigure it, and create 2 smaller bedrooms out of the large big one. Complete the partially finished bathroom, install a washer dryer downstairs as well as a washer dryer upstairs, and create a very spacious large eat-in kitchen. With the upstairs, there was very little they had to do. It had an oversized bathroom already, so they were able to install a washer and dryer in that bathroom. They were going to need to install a second forced air gas heating system, because you can't have, in a new build, it has to have separate heating systems. And they also installed a second electric service, which was great for them because then they were able to separate the bills for the upstairs and downstairs very simply and easily. Plus, they had to create that split entrance just inside the front door. Their estimated cost for this was $40,000 to $50,000. So I'll share with you a few before and after pictures here. Here we have the kitchen, oak cupboards, a little bit dated but in excellent condition. They didn't have to do anything to the kitchen itself. The dining room, which is off of the kitchen, they just refinished the floors, just give it a quick sand and new varathane, so in really good condition. And the downstairs, that window that you see here was the window that's facing the front of the house. And this was their rec room. And you can see they had to pull up the carpet and take down the ceiling because they were going to have to install a new heating system and wiring and so forth. Plus, they have to put double layers of drywall on the ceiling in order to meet fire safety code. With a high ranch, this is a perfect opportunity to take a look at it. You can see here there's a what we call a knee wall. So this portion of the foundation is concrete, and from that portion up is a wood frame construction, just the same as it is on the main floor. So you've got wood studs in behind here with conventional insulation. So it makes it nice and warm, so you only have this much concrete that you have to deal with. This is that same room. Different as night and day. I mean, there's that same window looking out at the front of the house. They installed a IKEA kitchen. It's a beautiful, it does not feel like a downstairs basement unit at all. They did a wonderful job. Here we have, here we go. Here we have the rec room. You can see it before. And what they did was they pulled up all of the carpeting, redid all of the drywall there. They also installed a window, which was not in that space before. So because it's a wood wall along here, it was very easy to install a window rather than if it was a concrete wall, they'd have to be cutting through concrete. You can also see that they now have a doorway, which was not in here because this all across the back was one large bedroom. They split that in half and made 2 bedrooms. And then you can see the unfinished bathroom that they inherited and how they finished it off. They did a wonderful job. So what are the results of this particular deal? In this case, the rental income for upstairs is $1,300. Downstairs, they're getting $1,100, and they included the garage for the upstairs unit as a bonus. The total costs, so again, their purchase price was $284,000. Their renovations came in at around $40,000. They had to get permits, so they were into it for another $50,000 altogether. The new appraised value after they were completed was $375,000, but they were into the deal for only $345,000. Therefore, they had equity of that should be it's only $30,000 there. So that was a really good deal for them. The cash flow on this particular property now. So again, their income upstairs was $1,300, downstairs $11,000, so a total of $2,400. Property taxes, insurance, their mortgage payment comes up to $1,654. So their cash flow on this property is $746, which is perfect for the 5 homes model. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the price range, what you should be looking for price range wise. But before we do that, I just want to explain the difference between the 3 different levels. We've got our high income, middle income, low income. I think we're all aware of that. But each one of those categories is further broken down. So you've got your high income, middle high income, low income, etc., all the way through. Just to understand that it is broken down that way. So when you take a look at the high income, what we're looking at is for house values now, we're looking in the $1 million and up in your high income. Middle income, we're looking at $700,000 to $1.2 million. And then your low income, you're looking at $400,000 to $700,000. Now, notice there at the bottom of the screen, I've got a little reminder about values. I mean, you have to keep this in perspective. This is average across the country. There's going to be larger cities like New York, Toronto, Vancouver, or Los Angeles. All of these big cities are just ridiculous with their valuations. So you have to take that out of the equation and look at the rest of the country. And this is more reflective of the rest of the country. So now we take a look at the middle income brackets. And at the high end, you're looking at $300,000 to $600,000 price point. The middle income, you're looking $250,000 to $400,000. Your low, you're looking at $175,000 to $275,000. Now with the rental rates, when you're taking a look at the high income, there's certainly not too many rental properties in the high income, so who knows what the rent rates would actually be. When you take a look at those expensive homes in the middle, you're looking at $2,500 and up. Who knows? The sky's the limit. The same thing even at the low end of the high income bracket. You're looking at $1,800 and up. It truly depends on the market conditions. We then take a look at the middle income bracket again. And at the high end, we're looking at $1,500 to $2,500. In the middle part, we're looking at $1,200 to $1,900. And on the low end, $800 to $1,200. Those are the types of rents that you can expect to get. And then for the low income bracket, you're only going to be getting, $800 to $1,000 for anybody in the low income bracket that even has homes. Because quite honest, most low income individuals are not homeowners; they're renters, which is why I haven't included them. So my recommendation is to focus on the middle income and the middle bracket of the middle income actually. And the price point for the houses are in the $250,000 to $400,000 price point, which is exactly in the example I showed you earlier. It's right in that bracket. And the rents that you could potentially expect to achieve there is $1,200 to $1,900. So that's it for today's presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to email away at ken@5homestofreedom.com. However, what I would recommend you do is you wait and watch all of the lessons in Module 1. and wait for the live training webinar at the end of the session so that you can ask your questions in front of the entire group, or somebody else may ask a question. But the questions that you probably have in mind will be answered during that session. If not, I'm more than happy to answer any questions after that. All right, that's it for now. Take care and see you in the next recording.